Hello and welcome to What Sold on eBay the third week of July. So that is July 15th to July 21st. This is Miss Moxie. She will be down here the whole time yelling at me and being fluffy and adorable and trying to show you her butthole. And while I try to protect her modesty, hopefully you're here for that. And I'm going to scoot over here and I will share with you what sold. A lot of books, and that's what we're starting with. So this is Britt Marie Was Here by Frederick Bachman, most well known for A Man Called O, which was made into a movie with Tom Hanks. Sold for $8.47. I bought this at the bins. I have 25 cents into this. Speaking of the bins, I also bought this little like pamphlet of quilting blocks, quilting patterns. Sold for $7.87. Also paid a quarter for this. Also paid a quarter for this. Also got at the bins. I pick up these Haynes novels whenever I find them. They sell really well for me, normally within 1 to 2 weeks of me listing them. They range in price based on the rarity and kind of vehicle it is. This sold for $17.87, so this is on the higher end, which I think is awesome. It's a Datsun 280. I think Datsun became Nissan. I'm not 100% sure. Despite me loving my Bronco, I'm not a car girly. I know some things through osmosis of many different failed relationships and also having mostly dude friends. But Datsun 280ZX. Another bin save. I paid 50 cents for this. This is a McCall's cookbook. This is from the 60s. Paid 50 cents for this again. Sold for $14.87. It was in actually really good shape. I did have to help the binding along a little bit, but overall still really solid. Another bins find. I actually put this up on Whatnot, and it didn't sell on Whatnot, but it did sell when I put it up on eBay. Sold for $29.87, so fashion is cyclical. And in the 90s, the 70s was really popular, so this is the 90s does the 70s in true form, and I thought this was gorgeous. I was super surprised it didn't sell on Whatnot, but not surprised that it sold on eBay for my full asking price of $29.87. I knew when I picked it up. My vintage style-based pickups always work out for me. Speaking of, I love selling ties. I don't think I've talked about it enough on this channel. That is sarcasm if you can't tell. They are small, they're easy to ship, they don't break, and they're normally really cheap. So I bought a big lot of vintage ties for $1.50 at a thrift store each. So it was like $1.50 a piece. This one sold for $10, so $1.50 into 10. We'll do that all day long. This is a 60s mod tie, lisle knit tie. And then I picked up this tie at the same time, also for $1.50. And this one sold to a completely different buyer. Literally like the same day or the day after. Is it the same day? Same day. To a completely different buyer. Don't know what was going on that day. But sold for $10 as well. So perfectly happy to turn $3 into 20. I think most of y'all would be happy to turn $3 into 20. And I still really like selling ties. This is a vintage Y2K MAC Cosmetics shirt. So this would have either been given to individuals that worked for MAC or were promotional models for MAC, which I guess technically also worked for MAC. This is from that era, sold for $15. I picked this up at the bins, another item that didn't sell on Whatnot. Perfectly happy to sell it on eBay, because that is everything that I sell on Whatnot is something I'm perfectly happy to sell on eBay, and do sell on eBay when it doesn't sell on Whatnot, because that's my jam. The Y2K aesthetic, as you know, is in, and this is another item I picked up at the bins. These are true low-rise Y2K shorts. I did have to repair these. I did disclose the repair. It just had a little hole by the back pocket. I stitched it together with a matching thread, disclosed the repair. I do find it hilarious that Gen Z is so used to high-waisted jeans that they consider mid-rise jeans low-rise, which is not it. That is not it at all. Like, if you don't have to worry about, like, literally, you know, leaning on a counter and not showing someone your butt crack, that's not low-rise. Like, not even like squatting down or bending all the way over, like just leaning on a counter. If you're not worried about showing your butt crack, that's not low rise. Anyway, these are true low rise. They were like, I think an 8-inch rise. Sold for $14.30. Next piece is Up From Slavery, an autobiography by Booker T. Washington. This is a book I picked up at the bins. I picked it up for 50 cents. It sold for $10.94 very quickly. I had actually originally intended to read this myself, but it sold before I could, so happy it moved on to a new home. I've talked about before on this channel multiple times how vintage children books can be valuable. This is one of the Bolo children's books to look out for. Well, I don't know what this is what I would consider a Bolo children's book, because I paid 50 cents for this book. It is A Present for Princess. It's from 1959. It's an elf book. It sold for $39.87. I think that's a Bolo. To turn 50 cents into 40 bucks. Absolutely will do that all day long. Actually, when I picked up this book at the bins, I did a poll on my Instagram. Would you pick up this book? And people were like, no. And I was like, hey, would you pick up this book now? And I showed comps. So the comps at the time were around $25 to $30. I sold it for $40. So I will continue to pick up vintage children's books when they're in good shape. Speaking of, I bought this entire set at the church book sale I managed to find. I paid a total of $1 for these books. Beautiful set. Now this originally would have had a slipcase with it, but that was not present at this book sale. This is actually a translated French quartet story. I think that's what I did when I looked at my research. The premise of this set, really interesting. I thought about keeping it, but my TBR is too long. So I went ahead and listed it, sold for $26.87. Love that. This is another piece I put up for sale on Whatnot, didn't sell on Whatnot. I got this at the bins. It is Susan Graver. This is a 3X. It has the animal leopard print. I put Mob Wife in the title, sold for $17.87. I think that's great. This is a Tord Active top, another piece I got at the bins, put it up for sale and Whatnot, didn't sell and Whatnot, sold it on eBay, $12.87. The reason why I keep saying that, if you're new here, is because of the fact, like, whenever I go sourcing at the bins or at Diversity or some like really cheap location, I always offer everything up for sale and Whatnot first at a really good sourcing price, mostly because I have too much death pile. But everything that I buy is stuff that I want to sell. So I'm not just like pushing off my stuff that's not selling onto you guys. I'm literally sourcing it for myself, offering you guys first pick. If you get it, sell it, amazing. I'm happy. You're happy, hopefully. And some stuff is saved out of the landfill. That's why, part of the reason why I love doing this is because I like the fact that I can make a living keeping stuff out of our landfills. So this is a Dolly Parton record, sold for my full asking price of $16.87. If you had told me like 10 years ago that I would be selling vinyl records on the internet for decent money, I would have laughed at you. Laughed at you. Wholeheartedly. I mean, like, you are a hardcore hipster, my dude. No. Is that even a phrase people use anymore? I don't think people use the phrase hipster anymore even. Like, I think that's also like just fallen by the wayside. I will pick up sportswear like Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, that kind of stuff at the bins because I can get it for really cheap. I sell it for really cheap, but it does move. This I offered up on Whatnot, didn't sell on Whatnot, sold on eBay for $8.99. Another piece I picked up at the bins, it's a Gap piece. I wish this was my size because I would have kept it if it was a medium. This was so cute. It was like regular cotton front, but it had like these beautiful like eyelet black lace sleeves. They were flutter sleeves. It was gorgeous. It was just too big for me, or I would have kept it. Sold for $10, but I paid for shipping. Again, I put it up on Whatnot, didn't sell Whatnot. I would have kept this. I thought it was gorgeous. This is a signed book. It's not that popular, The Hinterlands by Robert Morgan. I did pick this up at the bins. I would not have picked it up if it was not for the fact that it was signed. Because it was signed is the reason why it sold for $9.87. I'm happy to turn 25 cents into like $5, which is what I made off of this after, you know, shipping and stuff. Love to do that all day long. I've bought and sold this book multiple times at this point. Marlboro, I know that's not how you say it, that's the only way I can say it. Marlboro used to offer this cookbook up in its rewards program when they could do that. When you like collected little things from the carton, like not the cartons, the carton is the big box. What is the packet? Cigarette case? What is this? What pack? Is it just a pack? I don't know. the individual things of cigarettes that have cigarettes in them, not the big thing that has multiple packs of cigarettes. I guess it's just a cigarette pack. Anyway, I used to be able to tear that off and like send stuff in and pay for shipping, and they'd send you merch. I don't think you can do that anymore. This is one of those things. I've bought and sold this cookbook multiple times at this point. Sold for my full asking price of $8.47. I buy it every time I see it when I can get it for really cheap, which I got this really cheap for 50 cents at the bins. This is an estate sale find. I paid $2 for this. I got an offer of $20. I had this for 2 years at this point. I was like, yes, you can have it. I knew this was from the 60s and 70s, one, because of the tag in the back, but also because this is my torso. The buttons stop here, like right where my rib cage ends, because that's where the pants went up to at this time period. So if you ever see a men's shirt out and about in the wild, and you wonder why the buttons stop halfway down the shirt, but it continues to be open at the bottom. It's not like a pullover or a popover is what they're called now. It's because pants used to be that high. So now you have that information. So I knew when this was from. It was green. I couldn't leave it behind. I sold it for $20. Another bins find. This is one of those instances where this is why I don't donate stuff. This is why I don't donate old inventory, because as soon as I have that thought in my head, it sells. I had the thought in my head. It sold for $7.40. I bought this at the bins. I have like less than 50 cents into this. Perfectly happy that this moved on to a new home. This is another bins find. This was a new sealed, I think this is a video game. It's like a little art book, but it sold for $14.90. I paid 50 cents for this. I'll pick up new sealed books at the bins almost every time. This was an attempt. I am not a sports girly. I mean, I know I'm wearing sports girly merch right now. If it's not rugby or roller derby, I have limited knowledge in the thing. But I knew this was a 1950s, 60s baseball mitt. The things that my brain holds on to is just weird. I knew it was worth more than the $6 I paid for it. So I bought it. It would have been more valuable if it wasn't for the fact, if you can see here, the pinky is separated. There's actually a piece of leather that's supposed to be strung all the way across. I don't have the tools to re-string it. Like, the string was still there. I just don't have the tools or the patience or the time, honestly, to fix it. If I had fixed it, it would have sold for more. But I just was like, here, have it. It also had like Sharpie on it that I also didn't feel like getting off either. I just disclosed everything, and it still sold for $15. And I would probably still buy it again because it's, you know, at this point 70 years old, and I don't want to end up in a landfill. This is a viewer purchase. Nancy, thank you so much. I actually bought this, I think, for a Thriftmas video. I thought it was gorgeous. It is this fleece vest. It was new with tags. It was women's XL. It had beautiful Orioles and Cardinals all over it. Sold for my full asking price of $14.87. I think this is perfect for the upcoming fall and winter season, and Nancy, I hope you love it. Thank you so much for your support, and continue to watch this channel at this point for years and support my business also for years. It is very humbling, and I appreciate it. Vintage Choose Your Own Adventure books can be valuable. I think the most valuable one I've sold was for $50. This one sold for $10. I got that at that big church buyout that I talked about earlier. So I have like 25 cents into this book. It sold for $9.87. This is something I tried. I will probably not pick this up again just because of how long it took to sell. These are Red Engine jeans, which is a brand I never heard of before, but I bought these at Diversity when during Dollar Power Hour, and it's always best to try new things when they are cheap AF. And so for $1, I was willing to give these a try. They did eventually sell for $14.34, so I made good profit. It did take a year, but I'm okay with that. And that was actually the last thing I had to share with you guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. I do hope you enjoyed it. I know I have been a little MIA. I went to a giant book selling convention, and I was prepping for that and then recovering from that, and then, yeah. Life's been fun recently. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, bye. Bye. Hero, hero. I wanna be a hero.